Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to sort of take a stack of notes, really fascinating notes from a fish-keeping enthusiast, and pull out the core idea.
And that idea is pretty radical.
It really is. It's about taking something totally negative, a common problem, and turning it into this elegant solution.
Yeah.
We're looking at that spot where gardening and keeping fish overlap, and we're asking, what if your biggest pest was actually dinner for your aquatic companions?
It's a great question. It's an exercise in closed-loop thinking, really. We always see pests as just something to get rid of.
Right, to eradicate.
Exactly. But this deep dive, it challenges that. We're looking at notes from an experiment that asks, what if that annoying bug on your plants could become a regular meal for your outdoor fish?
And we're getting super specific here. This isn't just any pest.
Yeah.
Well, deep dive is about using the Mealybug, that fuzzy white menace everyone knows, as a food source. The notes show how taking it off its favorite plant, Portulaca, can become part of your daily fish feeding.
Right. And to set the scene for you, the mealybug is that soft-bodied, sap-sucking insect.
The one that covers itself in that white, sort of cottony-looking wax.
That's the one. And they are so destructive, especially on succulents and soft plants like Portulaca. They just cluster up on the new growth, right on the tips of the stems.
And any gardener listening knows exactly what you do when you see that. The immediate reaction is intervention. You pinch off that tip, you crush the bugs, and you get rid of it. It's just a defensive move to save the plant.
But this is where our source material asks us to just pause for a second. Instead of seeing that pinched-off tip as trash,
They saw potential.
They realized that an insect, even a tiny waxy one, is made of stuff that's also way better than dry, processed fish food. And that idea, that's what sparked the whole experiment.
Okay, so let's get into that. The nutritional shift. Before we even talk about what happened, why an insect, what makes a mealybug better than, a standard commercial pellet?
Yeah. It really just comes down to biology. The nutrient profile. Processed foods, they often don't have the same dynamic ratios you find in live food.
I see.
Insects are just a much more concentrated source of protein and fat. That's what fish need for breeding, for vitality. But it's more than that. They have things like chitin. Yeah, that's the stuff that makes up the insect's exoskeleton. For a fish, it's a kind of fiber. It helps their digestion, and it can even boost their immune system in ways that, a processed flake just can't.
So the idea was to harness this free on-site protein. The experiment begins, and the collected mealybugs are dropped into the outdoor fish setups. We should probably clarify what these ponds are.
Right, they're not grand in-ground ponds. The notes describe them as small, integrated outdoor systems.
Like stock tanks or big tubs?
Exactly. Maybe even semi-sunken barrels that are right there with the garden. And that's a key detail because these little ecosystems have to stay balanced to work.
Okay, so the food is offered. And the results were not what you might expect. They were very selective. Who actually ate them?
The mealybugs were just offered to everyone in the tanks. But the result was really clear-cut. The only fish to actually eat them, and eat them readily, were the guppies.
Just the guppies.
Just the guppies. They went for this new food like it was something they'd been eating their whole lives.
Now, this is so important because if you're trying this at home, you have to know what doesn't work, too. The notes mention a very specific fish that did not eat them.
Yes, the Red Jewel Cichlid. And that's a critical counterpoint. It proves this isn't some universal superfood for all fish.
So why not the cichlid?
Well, cichlids, they're generally much more carnivorous. They tend to want larger prey or food that sinks. The Red Jewel Cichlid, it hangs out in the middle or the bottom of the water. It's not really going to notice a tiny, slow-moving bug floating on the surface.
So the mealybug, because it's small and waxy, it probably just sits on the surface film for a bit.
Exactly. It's the perfect delivery system for a surface feeder like the guppy, but it's totally off the radar for a predator like the Red Jewel. That specificity is a huge takeaway.
Absolutely. And, a big question that comes to my mind, and I'm sure for a lot of you listening, is safety. Are you feeding your fish pesticides?
A very necessary question. And the source material covers this. It's actually built into the system.
How so?
Because the mealybugs are coming from a garden plant. The Portulaca, the owner, only collects them from plants they know are grown completely clean.
So no pesticides, no chemical sprays.
Then the whole system only works if you're practicing organic gardening on that host plant. It ensures the protein source is totally safe.
That makes perfect sense. The quality of the food is tied to the quality of the gardening.
Which brings us perfectly to what the notes call the triple utility of this whole thing. The 3 reasons this is just so efficient.
Okay, let's break that down. So this discovery turns mealybug management from just a chore into something else entirely.
Utility number 1 is most direct. You're turning waste into nutrition.
Simple as that.
Instead of being crushed and tossed out, this insect biomass is now a free, high-quality protein for your guppies. You're cutting down on your fish food costs.
Okay, that's a clear win. What's utility number 2?
This is where the integration, I think, is just brilliant. It's how it lines up perfectly with taking care of the plant itself.
The Portulaca.
Yes. Why do you find the pests on the stem tips? Because that's where they feed. But that's also where you need to be working anyway.
What do you mean?
Well, Portulaca or moss rose, you grow it to be dense and full of flowers, right?
Okay.
To get that lush look, you have to regularly pinch off the tips. It's called tip pruning. It forces the plant to branch out sideways instead of just growing tall and stringy.
So you have to prune those tips for the plant's health. And that's exactly where the mealybugs are.
That's exactly where they are. You're not adding a new job to your list. You're just making a mandatory job productive.
The task of pruning becomes the task of feeding.
Precisely. You're doing plant care and pest removal and food collection all in one single action. No chemicals, no extra trips to the store for live food.
Right.
It's a closed loop.
An internal production line. It's amazing.
Okay, so what's the third utility? The biological impact on the guppies.
Right. It's not just about basic nutrition. This provides a huge benefit.
Which is?
Reproductive stimulation. When fish, especially prolific breeders like guppies, get a sudden boost of live food.
Food that's rich in fats and protein?
It basically sends a signal to their bodies that conditions are perfect for breeding. The mealybugs act as a breeding stimulant. The notes show a visible increase in mating and eventually more fry.
So you're hitting the boost button on your guppy population. You're not just keeping them alive, you're helping them thrive and reproduce.
And that's essential for the next part of this system. This whole cycle brings us to why the guppy is there in the first place, because the notes are, well, they're a little conflicted about them.
Right. The writer actually says guppies are not their favorite ornamental fish.
No, not at all. They keep them, but it sounds like the Red Jewel Cichlids or maybe other fish are the ones they really like to look at. So if they aren't the main show, why are they so critical to the setup?
They're the workhorse.
Right.
The ultimate utilitarian fish. They're kept because they're tough, they can handle the changing conditions of an outdoor setup better than more sensitive species.
And what's their main job?
Their core job is ecosystem maintenance.
What does that mean in these little outdoor ponds?
It means surface management. In any outdoor water, you're going to get stuff on the surface. Pollen, organic film, and, the big one, mosquito larvae.
Ah, of course.
Guppies are fantastic at cleaning that all up. They're constantly at the surface eating anything that lands there. They keep the water clear, which helps with gas exchange, and they are a major control for mosquitoes.
So if your guppy population starts to drop, the whole system feels it. You get more scum, more potential for mosquitoes. The guppy is the essential janitor.
Exactly. And now you can see how it all connects. The elegance of the mealybug discovery ties it all together.
You have a fish that you keep for a purely functional reason.
Surface cleaning.
And that function needs a healthy, active, and constantly renewing population to do its job right.
And the mealybug harvest is the fuel for that renewal. It's the breeding stimulant that guarantees you have enough workers. You're paying your essential laborers with a pest you had to get rid of anyway.
It's a beautiful feedback loop.
It really is. The Portulaca needs pruning. That gives you the mealybug. The mealybug helps the guppies breed. More guppies means a cleaner water surface, which helps the health of the whole system, including the plant that started it all.
It goes way beyond just having a plant next to a pond. It's a symbiotic efficiency. The writer didn't just find a new fish snack. They built a microsystem where one action creates 3 positive outcomes.
And the big takeaway here for you is just the power of observation. It's about looking at what's already in your environment, the pest, the plant chore, the fish, and figuring how to connect them.
True knowledge integration.
It creates a functional, waste-free system.
And before we wrap this up, it's worth remembering that this whole thing hangs on one species, the guppy. The cichlids said no. And that leaves us with this huge question, which is the final thought the source material leaves for you, the listener.
That's right. The whole story is incredibly species-specific. So the writer wonders, What other ornamental fish out there might have the same taste for mealybugs?
A fish that maybe you prefer to keep.
Exactly.
If the guppy, this utilitarian surface feeder, is the key, the next step is to figure out which other popular fish are also opportunistic surface feeders. Which ones could handle a small, waxy insect?
It basically opens up a whole new field for at-home experiments. Could it be a type of killifish, maybe some gouramis? The potential is there to find a new, free, on-site live food for whatever fish you love.
Definitely food for thought. You might have a free breeding-grade protein source growing in your garden right now, just waiting for the right customer. Thanks for joining us for this dive into the world of mealybugs, portulaca, and the very useful guppy.